What's going on, everybody? It's Charles. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to ask for help and actually get it when you are a new technician. This is part of our new technician series, and I have a whole playlist of all these videos I'll be sure to link up for you guys. As a new technician, you need help, right? I've often felt like as a technician, you probably need help in some capacity, no matter your skill level. But when you're new, that is the time where you're going to need the most help from the people around you. Service managers, shop foremen, even as simple as technicians next to you. This is a place where I see a lot of technicians struggle, and the struggle is really one of two main ways. One, I don't want to ask for help because I don't want to bother anyone, or like they feel like I should know this, or I feel like I should know this. And if I ask for help, I'm going to be embarrassed or ashamed that I don't know whatever I'm asking for help for. That's kind of camp one. Camp two is kind of the opposite of that, where we ask for help for everything. Hey, Mr. Team Leader, I just pulled this fault code on this car. This is what it is. What's wrong with the car, right? Both of those two things and both of those two behaviors can be really, really problematic. Way one, you might end up screwing up more than you really need to because you're too proud or whatever to ask for help. You don't want to ask for help. The other way is you're asking for help so much in ridiculous fashion that you very quickly earn the anger of the people that are working around you. So how do we navigate these two things and ask questions when we need to, but not be that guy that pulls codes and said, hey, team leader, what's wrong with my car? So this is the strategy that I learned and I implemented in my career, and one that I tried to pass along to my technicians that I was help training or mentoring or whatever. And it's really, really simple. You should always ask the question, okay? We want to first get that mindset of I should never ask this question out of our head. You're going to end up making more mistakes than you really need to by refusing to ask for help. Asking for help is okay. If you are in an environment that flat out does not want you asking for help, you are in the wrong environment as a new technician and probably an experienced technician, and it's time to start thinking, move on to somewhere better that deserves your talent. Once we've identified that, it's okay to ask questions, and it's good to ask questions, and that's how we learn, and that's how we get help. Now we have to get our process down of how exactly we do that. So let's talk about a couple of scenarios. We'll start with that check engine light guy that pulls faults and says, hey, Steve, what's wrong with this car? That is a very poor approach, and you're probably never going to get any help from anyone, even me, if that's the approach that you take. What else could we do and still ask that same question, but actually get the help that we want because we don't know what's wrong with the check engine light? First thing we need to do is all of the research that we possibly can on the vehicle's problem, all right? This is an area that a lot of experienced technicians miss too, but we want to focus on that. We have the fault code. We'll use P0420 because I remember it. It's a catalytic efficiency fault. So we have this fault, P0420. What do? If we're working in a dealership that the scan tool has built-in test plans, we run those test plans and see what we get. Even if we don't know the result or we're not sure about where to go after that test plan, run the test plan, learn what the fault's about. We also want to, if we can, go to a repair manual and learn as much as we can about the fault that's stored. What are the conditions that it's stored under? What are the parameters that it takes to even store this fault? What are some other systems that are involved with this system? You could have a catalytic converter be a bad catalytic converter, be an oxygen sensor, be an exhaust leak, or be something way upstream causing the problem. So we want to learn as much as we can about the specific problem. We're using a check engine light just as an example, but this goes for any other kind of issue. Next, maybe we try and test some of those other systems. Maybe it's a problem where we need to look at the wiring diagram. A big one, a huge one, in the dealership world and in the aftermarket is checking technical service bulletins and any kind of other documentation that may be out there regarding this fault code. Recalls, tech tips, whatever it is, you really need to find out, is there any communications from the brand saying, hey, this is a known issue, or we ran into this before, here's what you need to do. The number of times I've seen technicians not check technical service bulletins, get burned on a problem, and waste a ton of time is ridiculous. And I've done it too, right? Whenever I say these things, I include myself. I'm usually thinking myself. I include myself in that too. So we need to do all that background research to learn and educate ourselves about the issue that we're having. Once we have educated ourselves, Once we have done something, tested a wire, even if you're not sure if that's necessarily the right test, do something. Run the test plan in the scan tool. Force the catalytic converter in our example to run and see if it passes or fails. Document, document, document. That's a theme that you're going to find through this series, is that documentation. Forget warranty for a second. That's super important for documentation for warranty and customers. This is for your own benefit, so you don't forget what you've actually done and the results that you got. Documentation is vital. So we go through, we do as much as we can, we push our comfort level out a little bit. Once we've maxed out everything we can find, any documentation, any information, any test plans in the scan tool, now it is time to go get help. Now it is time to go to that shop foreman or mentor or team leader, whatever it is in your shop, and say, hey, Steve, I got this problem with this car. It has a P0420. I dug through the test plans in the scan tool, and I don't really think my results led to pointing to everything, because the scan tool said to replace the ECM, and I don't want to just put an ECM it without more testing. Then I went to the repair manual, and you're telling this team leader this step by step. You're reading it essentially off your paper that you documented. Next, I went to the repair manual, learned all about the code. Here's what it means. Here's how it's stored. Tell them about the code that you have. Help pretend they don't know anything and educate them on the code. Then I went and I looked at technical service bulletins and recalls, and I didn't find any, or I did, and I did what the recall TSB said, and that didn't help. I'm at the point where I don't know what to do next. Can you help me? The difference between that and a technician coming to me or whoever the team leader is and saying, I have done all of this giant list of stuff, versus, hey, Steve, what's my fault code mean? What's wrong with this car? Is night and day. The difference is night and day. This technician that did all that legwork up front is going to get my help. In fact, I'm probably, if I can, dropping what I'm doing and going to help them fix that car. And while we're doing that, I'm teaching. I'm doing a lot more teaching, right? I'm explaining what's going through my head and what I know about the code and things that I've seen before. Maybe they didn't hear when they started the car up and drove it into the shop that the catalytic converter's rattling, and of course that's going to cause a catalyst efficiency code. So we walk underneath and we bang on the cat and it's rattling, and I go, hey Dan, you got a bad cat. It's rattling. The catalyst inside is coming apart. Very reasonable, very real thing that can happen. Versus this guy that says, hey, what's wrong with my car? I go, I don't know, man. Never seen that fault before. Maybe you should do some research. And that's the help you get. So the main takeaway is never, ever, ever be scared to ask for help. I will say one other thing though. If your team leader is like all the way waist deep doing some kind of dash repair, it might not be the best time to run up to him and say, hey, can you stop what you're doing and help me? You may want to be like, hey, when you get a minute, right? Use a little tact in this situation. Hey, when you get a minute, I could really use your help. But if you go to that team leader, that mentor, with a list of things you've already done, I promise you that is going to be so much better for you. One, you've already learned a ton, right? You've probably tiptoed around, if not found, what the problem is just by doing your own research, and maybe you just need a second opinion. Please never be afraid to ask for help. Use a little bit of tact when you do it, and make sure that you've done the legwork for the problem before you go to that mentor for help. And for you mentors out there, understand that these new technicians lack a lot of confidence. They don't know all the stuff that you know. If they are doing the legwork and they are putting in the effort, please, we need these younger technicians to be good, right? The industry has a bad reputation for a reason. It's earned it. I know a lot of us work really, really hard to change people's perception of what technicians and what mechanics are. If we're crapping on the next generation of mechanics, what do you think? People are going to be right, and they're going to suck. We don't want that. If they're not doing the legwork and they're not putting in the effort, let's not jump down their throat right away. Let's give them some guidance and encouragement to do those extra steps and show them the difference in your level of commitment to help them when they do the legwork versus when they don't. And there's no need to be a jerk about it either. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope you guys have really been enjoying this series. It's great to get back to kind of the roots of what the channel was all about to begin with, and I absolutely love that. I'll be sure to link that whole playlist down in the description for you guys so you can watch that. With that, I'm out. Guys, have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you again next time. Hey, Steve, what's wrong with this car? You're probably going to get that level of work.
I have an opinion on that.
Oh, that was serious.